Hello everyone, you're welcome back to my channel, and in our today's video we'll be talking about how I got my type 2 diabetes completely eliminated. Yes, as some people might be thinking that type 2 diabetes has no cure. In fact, I remember back in 2019 when I was first diagnosed of type 2 diabetes, what my wife, who happens to be a nurse, told me was that type 2 diabetes is a conditional disease, or it's a conditional sickness that you just have to deal with for the rest of your life because it has no cure. And as a result of that, all what you can do is just to manage it. But what if I told you that it is not the case? In fact, the doctor told me the same thing that my wife told me. And while I moved out of Nigeria coming to the UK, the same thing, the doctor told me that, well, diabetes has no cure. It cannot be reversed. It cannot be eliminated. You just have to live with it for the rest of your life. And these are the things that not only the medical doctors were saying, even my wife, who happens to be a nurse. But here I am today. It has been completely eliminated. I'm no longer having any diabetes. In fact, I'm off every single tablet that I was using, including the metformin, the statin, and every other medication that I was taking just to mitigate the effect that type 2 diabetes was having in me. And before we start, I'll be discussing with you a clear background of what really causes the type 2 diabetes. And you have to know that type 2 diabetes, it is as a result of too much glucose or excess sugar in your bloodstream. And when we talk of excess sugar, you see that those who are having type 2 diabetes, by the time they wake up in the morning, check their blood glucose, you see that it is through the roof. Sometimes the blood glucose can be as high as 120, sometimes 150, and even more. And why is it so? Because when we eat a lot of carbohydrate, a lot of junk food, then we are injecting glucose into our bloodstream. Now with this glucose in our bloodstream, the only response mechanism our body has is to provide insulin. Now your body will provide insulin in order to bring down the excess glucose, to force the glucose into your cell. But unlike type 1 diabetes, yes, in our today's video, we'll be discussing about type 2 diabetes. Because type 1 diabetes, it simply means that your pancreas has completely shut off. It is no longer producing insulin that your body requires to function. But for type 2 diabetes, we can say it is the direct opposite of what type 1 diabetes is. Unlike what people are saying that when you are having diabetes, it simply means that your body is not producing insulin again. No, type 2 diabetes, I can tell you that your body is in fact producing more than the insulin that you need. And as a result of this, your cell become resistant of the insulin. And because of the cell is resistant of the insulin, the cell is rejecting the insulin that your pancreas is producing when you eat high carbohydrate or high glucose food. But this doesn't mean that you cannot reverse it. It doesn't mean that you cannot completely put it into remission. Yes, they use remission for the cure. Simply because if you put it into remission and go back to your old way of eating that gets you into that stage in the first place, you are in fact going to be diabetic again. That is the reason why they use the term remission rather than cure. But how do I put my own diabetes into remission? Well, I'll be discussing two different methods that anyone can use, and irrespective of your age, irrespective of the spectrum you are, I can guarantee you that within 4 to 52 weeks, you can actually put your type 2 diabetes into remission. In the first method that I use, since remember I told you that the causes of type 2 diabetes is excess glucose living in your bloodstream. So the first method that you can do is to starve your body the excess glucose. And what do I mean by this? Well, the good part of our body is that it is being designed in such a way that your body is only in a survival mode. That is why the body wants us to actually gain weight. The body wants us to have excess fat, which will prevent us from starvation, meaning that when we are fat, when we gain weight, by the time we don't have something to eat, we are in starvation mode, our body can easily go into the fat cell and take a lot from the fat cell and convert it into energy. But fortunately, we are living in a world whereby we have excess food. There's no longer starvation, unlike the way it used to be when there are no excess food in the society. And that is the reason why we are always in surplus. There's no single time that we are in deficit, which is supposed to force our body into taking from the fat. And when we gain too much of fat, our body eventually pack a lot of visceral fat, which is damaging to the body. These are the fat around our organ, the fat around the liver, the intestine. All this fat is what causes inflammation as well as type 2 diabetes. Now, starving our body with the excess glucose will make our body goes into a state called ketosis, and that is the process whereby your body is using ketones as your energy source. Your body is using ketones to generate the energy that you need. And how can you mitigate this? And how can you boost it in order to get these ketones for as quickly as possible? Well, the simplest way for you to do this is to go into a diet called the ketogenic diet. Some people are doing carnivore diet, some people are doing ketogenic diet, or think of it as a diet that will completely eliminate carbohydrate in your food. A diet that will completely eliminate or reduce the total number of carbohydrates you are consuming. When you have a very low carbohydrate in your diet, well, unlike having excess glucose in your bloodstream, the only hormone that is responsible to bringing down the excess glucose in your body, unfortunately, is insulin. Whereas there are 5 or more hormones that upregulate your low blood glucose. So as a result of that, when you go into a ketogenic diet, you starve your body of excess glucose. The body has just one option to produce the ketones. So we will be in ketosis. Your body will force itself to upregulate the low glucose in your system. And that is why it is debatable to say that we really don't need carbohydrate in our diet. But that is not necessarily the case. So when you are in ketogenic diet, an hormone, for instance, the glucagon, is going to upregulate the lower blood glucose that you will be suffering, and you will be generating ketones in order for your body to function. So now we can say that one of the methods in order to eliminate type 2 diabetes is to go to ketogenic diet, or any diet that is going to cut the excess carbohydrate that you are eating, because carbohydrate is what spikes insulin. Excess insulin is what makes you to be resistant of the insulin your body is producing. On the other hand, the second method is by eating high protein, moderate carbohydrate, low fat diet. Yes, this is the complete opposite of the ketogenic diet, because ketogenic diet simply means consuming high fat, low carbohydrate. But in this case, you are eating high protein, moderate carbohydrate with low fat. We can also call it perhaps the paleo diet. But this diet requires a lot of effort as well as lifestyle changes. For instance, if you are going for this diet, you need to be very, very active. Yes, I can tell you that type 2 diabetes is caused by too much fat, like I said, in our body system. That is why you see that it is very, very uncommon for you to see someone living with type 2 diabetes without being obese, overweight, or at least having a belly fat. The person might be skinny, but look at the midsection, check the stomach of the person. You see that the person will be at least having belly fat. In my own case, I was morbidly obese. I'm not scared to talk about it. Well, you might be thinking of I don't want to use the word obese. That is a medical term. The fact that you are obese, it doesn't mean that people should not love you. It is just a medical term. If you like, call it chubby. If you like, call it puffy. If you like, call it anything you want. But I can tell you that before you can have type 2 diabetes, the person has to at least be more than what the weight the body wants the person to be. And in my own case, I was morbidly obese. So now going into the paleo diet, it requires to be active. You have to move more. You have to lift weight. Lift a lot of weight. Do a lot of resistance training. When you are doing a lot of resistance training, you are awakening the muscle in your body that is already on remission. Your muscle that is on remission because fat has taken place in your body is one of the things that make you to be resistant, that makes your body to be resistant of the insulin your body is producing. So when you are physically active, you realize that the muscle will be taking the excess carbohydrate or the excess glucose in your bloodstream. Yes, one thing I have not talked about is that there are two major ways by which you can make your body to be sensitive to the insulin again. And one way is to starve your body completely from the glucose. This time around, when you starve it, by the time you eventually put in a little bit of glucose, you've already starved your body the glucose it needed. Before you know, your body will be sensitive to that glucose once again. And the second method is to be active, to do exercise, to lift weight, to do resistance training. By the time you do this, I can guarantee you that without the spike of insulin, the first thing your body is going to make use of is the excess carbohydrate, the excess glucose in your bloodstream, just to make sure that it provides you the much needed emergency energy for you to function. So when you are active, for instance, you walk, you jog, you sprint, or you are lifting weight, you realize that at the end of the day, you are building the muscle. And as you are building the muscle, believe me, unlike what some people are saying that when you are diabetic, when you are obese, you have to cut the carbohydrate completely. No, it doesn't work that way. You can still live with the carbohydrate and still able to put the excess glucose into remission. All what you need is to be in a caloric deficit. There's no way around it. When you are in a caloric deficit, you are definitely going to lose weight, irrespective of what you are eating. And when you are active, you are doing exercise, you put yourself in a caloric deficit and you are lifting weight, doing the resistance training, your body has no other option than to take from the excess glucose, and automatically you realize that your blood glucose will be in homeostasis. It will be balanced. But if you are doubting that which one is optimal, well, I can tell you that the two are optimal, because in my own case, I use the two methods and it worked for me. But in case you are an elderly person, maybe you are in your 50s, you are in your 60s, or maybe you are living a sedentary lifestyle, perhaps you have to sit down for the vast majority of your day and you cannot just be active, you cannot be lifting weight, you cannot be jogging, be running, sprinting and all that, then doing ketogenic diet is very, very good for you, because in the long run, all what you have to do is to starve your body the excess glucose, and at the end of the day, the body will be sensitive to the glucose in your body again. But if you are a person like me, perhaps you are in your 20s, you are in your 30s, or maybe you are in your 40s, and you still think you are having that energy, you think that you are living a kind of moderate lifestyle, perhaps you can go to the gym or make an adjustment. Do a resistance training. It can be at home. I do majority of my trainings at home. You can do the resistance training, you can jog, you can walk. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need a machine or an equipment for you to do all these things. Perhaps 1 hour, 30-minute walk in a day, it might be optimal for you. And maybe 10 to 15-minute weightlifting. All these things is what you just need to begin with, and you progressively overload yourself. And if you are morbidly obese, all what you need is to just start somewhere. Just by walking for maybe 10 minutes or maybe 5 minutes, it might be what you need. Because when someone is morbidly obese, perhaps you are weighing over 200 kilos, then you realize that lifting your body, walking with your body is even more than enough to live with. And as a result of that, just walking for a few minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it might be optimal for you. So these are the two methods that I use in order to eliminate my type 2 diabetes. Now, which of the two methods is optimal? Well, the good news is the two are optimal. Unlike what many people are saying, promoting on the social media that this is the only diet you have to do, this is the lifestyle you have to do. Well, I can tell you that all these things boil down to your own preferences. As for me, I believe that I love to eat what I love. I love to eat all the varieties of food, including fruit, including carbohydrate, and every other means of the macronutrient that we have. And for me to be able to eat all these things, the only way around it is to be active, is to lift weight, is to do exercise, be doing resistance training. And as a result of that, I have the muscle. I have built a lot of muscle that is keeping me going. And when you have this muscle, when you build a lot of muscle in your body needs that glucose. For instance, when I was doing the ketogenic diet, I felt horrible. All the muscle in my body, everything looked flat. I wasn't feeling as if I'm building muscle. Although I'm getting stronger, but everything looked flat. Even if I go to the gym, I don't get the pump. I don't feel like there's muscle in my body. But by the time I introduce the carbohydrate in my diet, you see the muscle swelling up. You see the muscle getting very big. And these things give you the dopamine, it gives you the joy that yes, you are doing something right. Yes, something is going on well in your body, because when you do training, when you lift weight, your heart pump a lot of blood into the muscle, and this make it feel swollen, it make it feel pumped. So this thing, it gives you the joy. And as your heart is pumping blood into the muscle, is also taking excess glucose from your bloodstream into the muscle. All these things are what build the muscle in the long run. So that is the reason why you cannot say that I want to cut carbohydrate. But if you know that living a sedentary lifestyle, perhaps due to your job or perhaps you're morbidly obese, you can give ketogenic a try or a go. But if you think you still can live an active lifestyle, then eating high protein, moderate carb with a lot of fiber and very little of fat is going to at least help you not only to lose weight, but also to be able to reverse your type 2 diabetes. And these are the two methods that I know and can think of that can make you lose not only weight, but also make you to reverse, completely put into remission your type 2 diabetes. These are the two methods I've used so far, and it worked for me. And if it worked for me, I strongly believe that it can work for you. So which one will you be trying out of the two methods? Are you going for the ketogenic diet? Are you going for the paleo? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you've not followed this channel, you've not subscribed to our channel, please kindly subscribe. And until the next time that we'll be seeing again, I say bye.